Welcome back to Tanya in Lesson 5. The last few days we've been studying Chapter 12. Having established in Chapter 10 who the Tzaddik is, the one who, not only in his thought, speech, and action, is he in perfect alignment with the divine will as expressed in Torah, but even his very instincts, his very attractions, and his very fears are all directed towards attachment to God. Then in Chapter 11, we explain the Rasha, the wicked one, the one who is capable in thought, speech, and action, doing something that is not in accord with divine will and is thus sinful. Now in Chapter 12 and 13, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain who the Beinoni is. The word Beinoni, literally translated, means the one in the middle. That is to say, there is some part of him that makes him similar to the Tzaddik, and some part of him that makes him similar to the Rasha, to the wicked, and thus he's in the middle. As the Alter Rebbe explains in Chapter 12, it goes as follows. As far as the Beinoni's thought, speech, and action, he's exactly like the Tzaddik. He does not think, he does not speak, he does not act unless that thought, those words, or that action are in perfect alignment with the divine will as expressed in Torah. However, with respect to his feelings, his instinct, his natural desire, he could be exactly like the wicked, exactly like the average human being who's self-centered, self-motivated. And yet, if he desired a sin, he would never act on it, he would never speak about it, he wouldn't even think about it. To be sure, there are times when the Beinoni does feel like a tzaddik. During prayer, for example, if the Beinoni is connecting his mind to understand as much as he can about God, so it is possible and likely, and a part of the Beinoni's service to God, that he feels an attachment to God during prayer, but that's only during prayer, and only during these opportune times when he puts the effort to attach his mind and heart to God. Ordinarily, as he's going about his day, he might feel exactly like every other human being on the planet, which essentially have regular human natural desires, which sometimes include desire for sin. But he would never act upon these feelings. How does the Beinoni do this? How does he manage to contain his natural urges and never act upon them? For this, the Alter Rebbe lays down one of the most fundamental tenets of Tanya. Namely, in the words of the Alter Rebbe, HaMoyach Shalat Alalev. Every human being is capable of using the willpower that's in his mind to decide what he does, what he says, and even what he thinks. No matter how much I really want to do something, I can decide in my mind I am not doing it. No matter how lazy I feel and I don't want to do something, I can decide in my mind I'm going to do it. Same thing true of speech. I can decide what I'm going to say, what I'm not going to say. And even in thought, I may not be able to control the thoughts that pop into my mind. And this Beinoni, who has urges like every other human being in the planet, so it's possible that it will pop into his mind some thought that is contrary to divine will as expressed in Torah. But the moment the Beinoni becomes aware that this thought is sinful, he pushes it out of his mind. Because on his desire level, on his willpower level, he is in full control. And therefore the moment any idea that of something that is sinful comes to his mind, he pushes it out. Because he's in full control. And thus the Beinoni lives between the world of the Tzaddik and the Rasha. He lives in the world of the Tzaddik in terms of his thought, speech, and action, that he never willfully engages in a thought, and he never certainly doesn't speak, and certainly doesn't act in such a way that's contrary to Jewish law. But he also shares commonality with the wicked in that his desires and his instincts and his urges are just like every other person, which sometimes might be actually sinful. The takeaway from all of this is that freedom is the ability to do what I want. This ability to do what I want is not just in contrast to some exterior force compelling me to do something I don't want, but it's even in contrast to an interior force. I have this desire that's pushing me to do something sinful. I can be free of that because in my mind I decide what I want to do. Looking forward to seeing you when we conclude chapter 13.